We now invite IFES Inclusion Specialist, Ms. Virginia Atkinson, to welcome everyone and also to explain to you on our next training session.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today for this pilot of a BIDGE module on disability rights and elections. For those of you that are not familiar with BIDGE, it stands for Building Resources in Democracy, Governance, and Elections. And this is a training program for election management body officials and civil society organizations. The consortium of partners that develop the BIDGE module include IFES, the Australian Election Commission, International IDEA, and the United Nations Development Program. And so these organizations have been founding this curriculum for quite a few years now and have developed modules on specific areas of the election process, such as voter education, but also on areas that are cross-cutting, like gender. As of right now, though, there is not a module focused specifically on disability rights. So for about the past 6-7 months, we've been working on developing that and piloting it in multiple different countries. So far, there's been a pilot in Haiti, in Egypt, in Nepal, and most recently in Myanmar, which I know some of you in the room were participants in that. And so this is going to be the final pilot of the module. We're going to do just a showcase of some of the activities that are in the training program, and we really are interested in your feedback. So every time that we do these pilots, we incorporate feedback from all of the participants on what they liked, what they didn't like, and then we adjust the module accordingly. And so this is the very last pilot of the module before we finalize it. So I hope you all enjoy. I'm going to turn over to Ivan and Paterno, who are going to be the BIDGE facilitators and who are going to get you up on your feet and moving around for some interactive activities today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Virginia Atkinson. Ladies and gentlemen, Ivan Gaudi is a civic education and democratic governance practitioner with over 20 years experience working for various agencies, including Australian Electoral Commission, International IDEA, UNDP, IFES, the Carter Center, Democracy Reporting International, Conciliation Resources and Transparency International. She specializes in the niche area related to learning and capacity development for democratic governance in the intersecting areas of gender and inclusion, participation and empowerment, as well as election management. Yvonne was the coordinator of Democratic Governance BIDGE and curriculum coordinator, the Elections BIDGE program, as well as an expert category facilitator. Yvonne has been an electoral educator, a politics teacher and writer, and a trainer, facilitator and curriculum developer in the field of democracy education, and has specialized in the Asia-Pacific region as well as in MENA and Caucasus regions. While Mr. Paterno obtained his bachelor degree in public administration, and after finishing his bachelor degree, he started working as a lecturer at a private university in Jakarta in year 2001, teaching politics and public policy. In the end of year 2004, he received scholarship from International Fellowship Program of Ford Foundation for a master degree. He obtained his master degree at the Institute of Social Studies, ISS, in The Hague, Netherlands, 2006. After finishing his master degree, he came back to Indonesia and started working at an NGO in Jakarta, which is called CETRO, the Center for Electoral Reform, as senior researcher. His NGO is leading NGO in the election issues in Indonesia. He worked in the area of political laws advocacy, political laws consisting of political party law, parliamentary election law, and presidential election law from 2008 to 2011. He worked up for UNDP, United Nations for Development Program, as a project officer for electoral management from 2011 to 2012, and was a voter registration expert for IFES from 2012. Ladies and gentlemen, I hand the floor to Ivan and Paterno.
Good morning. Selamat pagi. Selamat datang. My name is Yvonne. I have been introduced, so I don't need to reintroduce myself. I'm standing down here rather than on the stage. That's my preference. I want to be closer to you. I'm very happy to be here at this conference and very happy to be demonstrating some activities from the new training program. I'm very happy to be working with my co-facilitator, Hak Patono, and I'm very excited to see so many faces in the room that are willing to demonstrate and simulate some of our activities this morning. We are going to be running some exercises between now and lunchtime, and I'm going to explain to you what we're going to be doing and how we are going to be doing it. I have a presentation to start with to give you this context and explain what we will be doing in which order. Okay, so I'm going to ask Patono to operate the PowerPoint. Do we have the interpretation fixed now? Is all the technical issues sorted? Shall I proceed? Good. Okay. So, a short welcome, explain what we're going to be doing. The aims of this BIDGE session this morning are to provide an overview of the new module that Virginia mentioned called Disability and Rights and Elections. We are going to be talking about some of the experiences we have had when we have been piloting some of these new materials in a couple of different countries. And we are going to be inviting your input as experts to help us continue to finish that module so that it is available for you all to use. Can I ask a quick question? Who has heard of the BIDGE program? The BIDGE training program for election management? Hands up if you have heard of it. Not too many. Good, okay. So we have many people, the majority of people in the room who are not familiar with this training program, which doesn't surprise me because I know a lot of the participants here are from disability persons organisations rather than election management bodies. The training program is for people who work with election management bodies and their stakeholders. So most people that have worked in the field of elections have heard of the BIDGE program. Patono will be explaining the BIDGE program to you in about 5 or 10 minutes. Next slide. This is our agenda for this morning. We haven't given you a paper copy of this, but we just wanted you to see the activities in the order that we were going to be running them. We'll be giving the overview of the module and the BIDGE program to begin with. So we will be doing some presenting. But after that, we're really going to be demonstrating the methodology of the BIDGE program, which is very interactive and participatory, which means it's not the two of us up the front lecturing you, speaking at you, but you doing the talking amongst yourselves, as in an adult training program where we will facilitate your discussions. So it will be very active and involve movement, and so hopefully that's going to engage you. That will be perhaps 2 or 3 exercises that we will demonstrate and ask for your feedback on. We will have a break at about 10:30, we hope, in the middle of this session, and then we hope to finish at 12:30 for lunch. So we ask for your cooperation to listen carefully to our instructions, so we can move through the exercises and finish on time. Next one. This is just a couple of assumptions or expectations that we have about this session this morning. I assume that some of you may have heard of BIDGE, but most of you have not. So we will be explaining BIDGE to the most of you that have not heard of the BIDGE program. When Partono explains the BIDGE training program, he will be explaining that the training program usually takes place in small groups, as is the standard for training programs, of about 25 participants. So we now have nearly 100 or more participants, so it's a little bit artificial. It's going to be a little bit difficult to demonstrate the methodology of BIDGE, because normally the training program is not run with so many people. But we will make adjustments, and you will still get to have a feel for what the exercises in BIDGE are like. It's only a very short taste. It's not a training program that lasts for 4 or 5 days, as would be normal. So you won't get the breadth or the diversity of experience that you would if you were doing this new module workshop over a week. But you will get a little taste, a feel. And hopefully that's enough to inspire you to want to do it and take it back to your countries. Now, this session this morning is not passive, it's very active. So this represents a real shift from yesterday's proceedings, where you were sitting and listening and learning in your own way, individually, to a much more interactive methodology. And because this is the BIDGE methodology, we really do invite you to make that shift and see yourselves in the role of participants of the training program, and to be fully engaged in the training program for it to be a success for you. So normally in BIDGE programs we start with some ground rules. So we are just going to ask you to abide by some very simple ground rules for this session, so it is interactive and we can all manage the conversations in a large group by keeping your side conversations to a minimum, keeping your use of your mobile devices to a minimum, and being engaged in the exercises. We hope, as I said, that you will learn a little bit through this taste of BIDGE, and that you will be a little bit inspired to want to run this program in your countries. We hope to get your feedback, and we will give you a form at the end of this session to fill out to give us your ideas. And you can contribute in many ways to the further development of this module. So we do invite that. Our final expectation is that this will be fun. This will be active and fun. Next. Okay, we'll stop there. Okay, so I hope that has explained what we are going to be doing this morning. Now I'm going to ask Partono to put on the next slide, PowerPoint number 2, that will just explain the module overview. It's already open. It's already open. Number 2. Okay, I just have a couple of slides to explain the module overview, and then we will have Partono explain BIDGE in some more detail. So, a bit of summary, because Virginia has already mentioned this new module and how it came about. Just a couple of quick points to reiterate this. Next. As Virginia said, over the last 6 or 7 months, this new module called Disability Rights and Elections has been in development. Numerous activities have been written by different people related to IFES in different countries, and small pilots have been conducted already in Haiti, Myanmar, and Nepal, and Egypt. Have I forgotten one there, Virginia? Okay. I was involved in the Cairo pilot last September, and I want to talk about some of the lessons of that because it's going to highlight some of the important aspects. If you are thinking about implementing this module, we need to take into account some of these important lessons learnt. It's a new module. It did evolve out of another module from the BIDGE program called Access to Election Processes. The BIDGE curriculum has 25 modules. This has 24. This new module will be module number 25 when it's completed. Next. That's okay, next one. I'll skip on. Next one. Next one. Just want to summarise the sorts of topics that are in this module. Now, over the last day or so, you've been hearing about the election cycle and all of the activities and phases related to different electoral events and processes. So that includes all of these things. It's a big list. The legal framework, the structure of the election management bodies, voter registration, candidate nomination, voter information, voting day processes, election observation, post-election processes, all of these elements that make up an election cycle from one electoral event to the next. For all of these aspects of elections, disability inclusion is important. This module covers all of those topics. So, if an organisation wanted to run the module, there's a number of things that they need to do, but there is a large body of activities and topics that can be used. As Partona will explain, the BIDGE curriculum is a training program that needs to be customised to the context where it is being delivered. It is not off the shelf, as we say. It's not a standard training program. It must be contextualised and customised, which makes it very, very good because it looks at the context that it is being delivered and it creates the content around the context. So it is a very large module and it does need to be contextualised. So they are the topics. Today we are only going to see 2 or 3 small activities from one of those topics, because if we were to do all of the module, we would be here for about 2 weeks. Okay, the next slide is the 3 objectives of this new module. 3 key objectives. The first one, introduce election management officials to international standards such as the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Number 2, provide engagement opportunities and tools for disabled persons' organisations and election management bodies to collaborate in the design of more inclusive election processes. This is really important. I want to underline this word, engagement opportunities and collaborate. The beauty of this training program, of course, people come away with new knowledge and skills, but it is the opportunity for them to work together, government, election management bodies, with disabled persons organisations. It is that dialogue and interaction between the different stakeholders and the multi-stakeholders that is so rich and can lead to so much productive work together building of those relationships, working together, developing strategic plans and ideas for how to improve access, doing it together in a collaborative manner that I think has been very much the focus of this conference, this collaboration feature. And this is the feature of this module also. The third objective, emphasise the importance of consultation processes following on from collaboration. Collaboration, consultation, every step of the way. Okay, that's just a little summary of this module. Now, I've shown you 2 PowerPoints so far. We're just about to move on to the third. We are going to give you electronic copies of these PowerPoints. We don't have handouts. We don't want to give you too much paper, but we will certainly organise to give you the electronic copies. Okay, I think now I'll move on to the next one. Number 3. Okay. Now, I was involved in the pilot in Cairo in Egypt in September last year for this module. It was a 3-day module organised by IFES Cairo office. And before this pilot, there were a couple of others in the other countries that Virginia mentioned, in Haiti and Nepal. I wasn't involved in those, but was anyone in this room involved in the other pilots? Is there anyone in this room who was involved from Nepal or Myanmar? Yes? From which country? Myanmar. Good. Okay. Well, when I give a couple of comments about the Cairo project, pilot, I invite you to give any observations or reflections you have about the Myanmar one, if you were involved. And do we have Dr. Ashraf? Very good. Dr. Ashraf was the expert resource person in the Cairo pilot, and I'm going to invite him up whenever he's ready, and I would invite him to share some of his observations about the module and how successful he thought it was in the Egypt context. So just a couple of things that I will mention first, and make your way up whenever you would like, Dr. Ashraf. I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but I need your expertise. So I'm very happy to see you here. Okay, next slide. The participants in Cairo, we had about 25, 30 participants. What was very good about the Cairo pilot for this project was that we had IFES had very strong partnerships with the DPO from Cairo that Dr. Ashraf represents. So they were able to help with all the implementation side of the pilot in organising participants and helping us contextualise the material and organising the resource people. So they were pivotal in the success of this pilot. The participants very importantly represented a large cross-section of the disability community. And that was very important, we felt, because it was very inclusive of the different disability organisations, and there are many in a big country like Egypt. So they went to great lengths to make sure that a cross-section participated, which was good. The next one, facilitator. And I put this photo of Dr. Ashraf up before I realised he was coming to this conference. Dr. Ashraf in Egypt is not a BIDGE facilitator, because that involves an accreditation process, which Partono will speak about later. but he certainly played the role of expert facilitator and resource person. Without him, we couldn't have run the pilot, because Dr. Ashraf's very respected in Egypt. Yes, please. Very respected in the disability and wider community, and very well known. So it was very important that someone of his reputation was able to help implement and facilitate the program. Next one. There's a couple of key activities, key exercises that are in this new module, and we're going to be explaining them a little bit later. One of them is called the World Cafe methodology. Maybe I'll just ask, who has heard of the World Cafe methodology in training programs? One? Oh, well, I wish we had more time to demonstrate it for you. It's a really good technique that's very good to get a lot of content covered by a lot of people quickly. But it's in the module, so there's a reason for you to do the module. It's a really lovely technique. The next one. Another feature of the module is it's very much grounded and based on the election cycle approach. So we use the election cycle, as we will talk about later. We look at the cycle from the point of view of, well, these are the possible entry points for where inclusion and access can be improved. And this is important, especially for people that haven't got an election background, but come from the disability community, that they're able to visualise the election in terms of these phases or chunks of activities. So it makes it more manageable. So that is another feature of the module. Next one, please, Patano. Another feature of the BIDGE module and methodology is that participants' expertise and understandings is very important. We say in BIDGE that everybody is an expert. Everybody has knowledge and wisdom. The purpose of the program is to try to bring out, share that knowledge and wisdom. And everyone has different views, opinions, that help them come to their own understandings about what principles and values they have. So much of what this program does is to look, expose, bring those things to the surface so people can talk about their values and how that affects how they behave as a decision maker. So, to put it bluntly, that means there's going to be some contentions, some arguments, some very heated discussions, because people have different value systems. But this is good, because this gets to the root of why we have discussion and debate in a community, and how we make decisions as a community, what's important to us compared to other people. So this is another feature of the program. A lot of talking, a lot of discussion, a lot of dialogue. Next one. Also, the module has expert input, depending on what the topic is. In the case of Egypt, we had a disability legal expert, a woman called Janet Lord, who may be known to some of you. And she came and gave a presentation on some of the legal framework aspects of disability rights and political participation. And that's something that we find that the participants are very hungry for. They want those knowledge inputs. So there's a balance between participants talking amongst one another and having some knowledge inputs. So that sort of gives you a feel for what the methodology and what the program will look like. So it's a training program where people are interacting, but there's also presentations in there as well. And we had election management body commissioners come and give their input. Could you go to the next slide, please, Patuna? And that was also very important. We found that having the senior management from the Election Commission come and participate and be very much engaged on an equal level with all participants was very helpful for the participants to understand that there was a message being sent here, that this is important. So it was also important to have their participation in the program. So all of those elements, next slide, help this pilot become the success we thought it was. Next slide. Okay, next slide. So to summarise the lessons learned, and then I asked Dr. Ashraf, the selection of participants is very important when thinking about delivering this module to get the cross-section of the disability community. The principles of access and reasonable accommodation needs to be taken into account throughout all stages of the implementation of the program, the planning, the delivery, and the post-workshop. So you need to be working with partners that are from DPOs so that these things can be effective. The facilitated team is very important. In this training program, there's several facilitators and experts, all with their different expertise, either their training expertise, their elections expertise, their disability expertise. So it's a team effort, and that's very important. Contextualising and customising to the context and the needs of the society that is delivering this program. So, if your country is about to embark on a registration process, this might be the focus of the module. It can be tailored as needed. Next. Of course, administrative support and partnerships are important. And the final slide, most important one, is involving the DPOs as partners, implementing partners, as facilitators and experts, and as participants. So, we thought, IFES felt that the Cairo pilot was very important, and the lessons that we learned from that have been fed into the newest module. And now I invite Dr. Ashraf, if you have any observations or if you want to contradict anything I said then about the Cairo pilot, you are more than welcome. Would you like to come up? That'd be great. Sorry?
Thank you, Yvonne. Good morning. Excuse me, at the beginning, I'd like to express my great pleasure being with you in this distinguished conference. I'd like to thank IFES for inviting me to participate in this event. Thank you, Yvonne, my friend. We collaborated in a very important project, BIDGE, in Egypt, which was a distinguished event. BIDGE has a special way of presentation. It depends on practical, okay, not theoretical, and also the involvement of different representatives of persons with disabilities in Egypt, representing different areas, different cities, rural areas, women with disabilities, different type of disabilities. It was great experience. Second, we have Yvonne with her great experience, beside a friend from United States, Janet Lord, a legal expert also. They add a lot for us. They answered many questions for persons with disabilities participating in that event. And also it was a unique event which gathered and have representatives from the Egyptian electoral management body. It was the first time for them, for such this legal personnel to attend a meeting talking about the rights of persons with disabilities in Egypt. So face-to-face meeting with such as this electoral body was a great success. They listen for our needs and they start to put in their consideration how to make the coming election more accessible. Also, I will tell you something. Lately, and preparing for the coming parliament election, the national TV channels started to make advertisement about accessibility for persons with disabilities, prepared by the High Commission of Election Body. Really? Yes. Yes, this is a great success. And also, the way of training in BRIDGE stimulated the person with disability to think more about their needs, think more about how to develop and improve the environment of election in Egypt. Thank you, Yvonne, for your input. Thank you, and I wish you all the luck in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashraf. I think as a follow-up from the Cairo pilot also, there was a number of participants that were very interested in further training and taking it back to their regions. And I think IFES are considering looking at a training of trainers or something to follow up. I hope, yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Ashraf, for sharing. Thank you. Okay, that brings me to the end of the discussion about the pilots. I invite our colleagues from Myanmar. Is there anything you wanted to say about your experiences in Myanmar with BRIDGE?
At the time, I am not the participant.
Okay. Okay, sure. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. That finishes my bit for the moment. Soon we're going to get you up and moving, but first we're going to ask Patono to talk a little bit more about the BRIDGE project.
Yes, thank you.
Do you want me to use the slide?
Yes, please. Okay. Thank you, Yvonne. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Our special guests from overseas, welcome to Jakarta. I hope that you are enjoying the atmosphere of Jakarta, and I also hope that you will have a chance during our conference. You will taste our most well-known culinary in Indonesia, such as rendang. Rendang is the most delicious food in the world, according to Times and newspaper. And then bakso, and then nasi goreng, and then and so forth. So you can have a time to visit some of food hall to taste our culinary. And then thank you. I will present the overview of BRIDGE. So with this short presentation, I hope that you will get the picture of BRIDGE. Next, please. If we look at the slides, there are 5 logos of international organization, UNDP, IFES, International ADIA, United Nations, especially for Electoral Assistance Division, and then the last one is AEC. So these 5 organizations are partnering in, developing, designing, and implementing the curriculum BRIDGE. And what I understand, what I know, BRIDGE was born in sometime in the late of 99, in Melbourne, in Australia, when the international expert had a meeting in Australia. So next, please. What is BRIDGE? BRIDGE stands for Building Resources in Democracy, Governance, and Election. BRIDGE is a modular professional development program with a particular focusing in election. The BRIDGE curriculum is delivered through face-to-face workshop using adult learning principles by accredited BRIDGE facilitators. Why BIDGE? Yeah. There are several reasons why I should have a BIDGE. BIDGE is a program in electoral processes because to achieve effective, sustainable electoral administration, the development of the capacity of the staff needs to be prioritized. Without the appropriate skills in the place, election processes can be undermined. An electoral culture is easier to sustain when all stakeholders have a clear understanding of electoral processes. Yeah. Before we have BIDGE, yeah, there is no broad and comprehensive curriculum for training of election officials and stakeholders. So, BIDGE coming for solve this problem. Next, please. Who is a BIDGE for? Yeah. First, BIDGE is for election management bodies. So I am sure some of you are working for electoral management bodies. And then second, for electoral commissioners, members of the media, political parties, parliamentarians, security forces, civil society organization, advocacy group, disability person organization. Yeah. So BIDGE is primarily for those who are working in the election, for stakeholder group who would benefit from understanding more about the electoral processes, and for those who have a role in influencing how elections are managed. Next, please. These are the objectives of BIDGE. First, to promote internationally accepted electoral principles. Second, to enhance the skill of and confidence of stakeholders. To increase the awareness of tools and resources. And then the last, to develop a support network for stakeholders in the electoral processes. Next, please. BIDGE today. Yeah. BIDGE has been run in more than 70 countries, for over than 10,000 participants. There is a BIDGE workshop being run somewhere in the world every week. Yeah. This number is maybe update, yeah, become update until now. The numbers become increasing. Next, please. This is the BIDGE methodology, how BIDGE adapt the methodology. Recognize if you want people to act professionally, you must treat them as professionals. Acknowledges and values diversity. This is the most important. We have to respect the diversity. And then encourages dialogue, not lecturing, sharing knowledge, and active participation. Supportive rather than prescriptive. Makes participants responsible for their own learning. And the last, encourages local ownership of the curriculum. Maybe one of you are attending the BIDGE module in Indonesia. Lucky for us, in Indonesia, we had already 12 customized module that we have run during the last 3 years. Yeah. Please, next, please. What happened in BIDGE workshop? Participants share knowledge and experience. Yeah. Electoral concept, principles, and elements are discussed and analyzed. Different methods of participation, yeah, will be used, such as brainstorming. Maybe in the end of our session, you will know how we conduct the brainstorming in our session. Debating, problem solving, physical activity. You will also see how we use the physical activity on our session. And then the atmosphere is supportive and friendly. Next, please. That is the BIDGE curriculum. Yeah. Currently, we have a 24 curriculum, yeah, that already exists. 2 modules, yeah, within the foundation modules, electoral administration, and then strategic financial planning. The rest, 22, divided into 3 category. Yeah. Electoral architecture, we have legal framework, boundary delimitation, electoral system, electoral management design, electoral technology, and political finance. And then the middle, working with electoral stakeholders. Yeah. Working with electoral stakeholders, access to electoral processes, gender and election, voter information, civic education, media and election, electoral contestant, electoral dispute and resolution, electoral observation, and then the last, electoral assistant. And then the last is electoral operation. We have voter registration, pre-election activities, training of official election, and then polling, counting procedures, post-election activities, external voting, and electoral security. And then the last one, the 25th, we had already almost finished. Our last module is the module for people with disabilities right in an election. Next, please. That is the what our discussing for disability rights and election. The last module that we are introducing to you all. This is a new module developed late 2014 by IFES. A couple of early pilots using draft materials. First pilot completed module in Cairo. This is the 5th pilot, yeah, in Indonesia. Tomorrow we will have a one-day showcase for. Some of you will attend the full day of showcase. Where next? We don't know. Maybe IFES, AEC, UNDP will conduct a pilot in another country. Maybe in Timor-Leste, in Mexico, or etc. Don't know. Next, please. Question. When can I get a copy of new module? So far, the module is not finished yet, so we cannot have it, yeah, for public. But maybe after, in 2 months later, when we finish the module, we can have the module by asking our partners to access the module. When is it available to be used? Of course, we can use it for the pilot, but you have to have approval from the partners, either from IFES or UNDP or AEC or international idea. What are the rules of running this module? Next, please, will be explained. That is a BIDGE facilitation. When you want to have a BIDGE training or BIDGE event or workshop, only trained and accredited facilitator can deliver a BIDGE workshop. A team of local and, if needed, international facilitators that work well together is selected. Multi-day workshops are conducted by a team of at least 3 facilitators. Next, please. That is our website. Yeah. You can take your time to have a look at our website. Everything is put on the website. Yeah. Next, please. This is the our website, www.bridge-project.org. Yeah. Even though there is a requirement for password and username, it's only for facilitators and the expert. But you can see the curriculum, the update, what we have done in around the world will be put into our website. Please feel free to take a look at the website. Next, please. Wow, that is finished. So that is the BIDGE, overview of BIDGE. I hope that you can get the picture of BIDGE. Yeah. Thank you, Evan. I give you the time to you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for listening to us talk and talk about the module. Now it's time to do something from the module. Time to get you moving. Would you mind getting up the slide? Okay, we're going to do an activity with you. It is called Disability Bingo. Can you tell me if you have heard of the game Bingo? Oh, not many. Bingo. Some of you. Okay, I'm going to explain what we're going to be doing to play this game. Back. Yes. Okay. Disabilities Bingo. This is an interactive exercise designed to introduce participants to concepts and issues related to disability, elections, access, discrimination. It's an activity that we use this sort of activity a lot in the BRIDGE program. It serves many purposes. It covers a lot of content. It helps build teams and relationships amongst the participants. This activity helps demonstrate the diversity of people in a workshop. Hopefully, it breaks down some stereotypes. Most importantly, it opens dialogue, conversation amongst participants, which then makes it easier when we go into more difficult conversations that everybody is starting to know one another and starting to understand where different people are coming from. It's an activity that's fun. It involves movement. It's conducted a little bit like a race, but the purpose of it is very serious. I have run this activity several times, and it will take us about 15-20 minutes, but it involves your active participation. So the concept is, soon we will give every participant in the room a bingo card. You all will have a bingo card that you can put your name on. Now, on this card, there are 25 squares that all say different things. And the objective of the game is for you to go around and meet as many participants as you can, as quickly as you can, to get the answers to these 25 questions, or to get people to initial some of these statements that apply to them. The winner will be the person who completes a row of 5 squares, any direction. The first one to complete 5 squares by going to 5 different people and getting them to complete the answer or initial the square. First one to complete a row of 5 will say, bingo, and you will be the first winner. This could be rather quick, if people move quickly. It will be harder. I don't want to make this too easy for you. I want it to be a little bit challenging. So the next part is we will see who comes second, or equal first. Who is the first one to get 2 rows, 10 squares in any direction? Now this involves you going up to complete strangers, asking them questions, asking if any of these apply to them, and asking them to sign their name or give an answer. There is a blank square in the middle, free space, where we invite you to write something interesting, anything at all, about a participant that you meet related to our topic. So you can fill that in any way you like by meeting a participant you think has something interesting to say. So, I hope the instructions are clear. You will all get a bingo card. We will give you a few moments to read the squares so that you can think about who you would like to approach in the room. So we'll give a few minutes to read, then we will say start. Then we invite you to get out of your seats, move around as quickly as you can, approach as many people as quickly as you can to try to fill out 5 or 10 squares, 2 rows in any direction. Okay, I hope those instructions are clear. Now I ask my helpers to distribute the bingo cards, have a read. If there's any questions, anything you are not certain about, ask me before we start. You only need your bingo card and a pen. That's all you need.
I have a question. How about for participants who are blind? How can we play this game? How can we read the card, and how can we, yeah, like that?
Yeah, good question. We expected that. We apologise. Not all the materials can be accessible at this point. They are in draft format. We do apologise. You will need assistance in that case. Sure. Yes. And if it's easier to do in pairs, thanks, Virginia, easier to do in pairs, do it in pairs. That makes good sense. So everybody has a bingo card. Everyone will need a pen. It is not so important if you sign the person's name or they sign the name, as long as you're being truthful and approaching somebody who says that they could sign this card for 1 square. Another question?
So, what do you mean, this office, the election office?
Yes. Okay. There's a question here. On the second column at the top, it says, find someone who has stood for office or is thinking of standing for office. We mean political office. Someone who is thinking of becoming a candidate for a political office. Is there any other questions of clarification? I see everybody reading, so I think we are ready to start. If you need to work with a pair, please do, a partner. Now, when I say start, I ask you to move around, start, and then remember, the first person who thinks they have a row of 5 will need to grab a microphone and call out bingo. Now, I have prizes, so I want to motivate you. I have some nice chocolates from Australia for the winners today. I think we are ready. Please start. Stand up, move around.
Yes, you can ask anybody you like. You can move to any chairs, any tables. Bisa berpindah ke meja mana saja yang diinginkan sesuai pertanyaan. Kalau sudah menemukan jawaban, langsung minta tanda tangannya di jawaban yang sudah ditemukan. So once you got the answer, you can ask the signature of the person that who can provide you with an answer. That's a proof that you have got the answer. 4 minutes already, 4 menit sudah. Ya, kalau belum dapat cari lagi. If you haven't got the answer, don't be shy. You can move on to other tables. Feels free to ask anybody in the room for the answer. Silahkan tanya ke semuanya. Kalau sudah dapat jawabannya, minta tanda tangan oleh orang yang menjawab di pertanyaan yang dicari jawabannya. 5 minutes already. We still have around 10 more minutes. Yeah, we still have time. Oh, bingo! 1 person bingo. Okay, he's the winner. He's the winner. Yes.
Yes.
Are they correct?
Yes, correct. With the name?
What's the answer to this one? The article?
29. Mr. Norman came from Bangladesh, Ansar.
Okay, and it's number, what article is it?
29.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's another bingo.
Okay. Okay, we have 2 winners. So we continue. Continue to get 2 rows. 2 rows now to see who comes next. Keep going. Keep going. Sorry?
Is this okay?
Whose is this one? You can keep going. We need 1 more row.
Is this okay?
Yes, yes. Correct. The answers, yes.
2 rows.
I have to go all the way along.
This one.
Yes. Yes, you need 2 rows.
So this is okay. Dapat meron.
Yes, 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 yes. They did, yes.
Let's go.
Very good. Now you get a 2nd row. You have to get a 2nd row now.
Oh, you need to complete 1 more row. This guy.
No, he got the first 5,
Oh,
but we're doing it now for 10, for 2 rows.
Okay.
So say yes to have disability.
Very bossy. Say yes.
Work a police officer. Have you worked as police
Yes,
officer?
I have.
Yes, sign. No possible again.
Ivan.
What is this? Do you know what
Bingo? Oh, 1 row, 2nd row? 2nd row. Okay, once you finish the first row, now we move to the 2nd row. Yeah, 3rd row. So, yes.
Thank you very much. Yes. Please take your seats. Please have a seat. Oh, you keep. So this gentleman got the first one, and this...
Naylin So from Myanmar.
Myanmar. And who was the other one that came second? Oh, I'll just ask. It's all right. Oh, yeah, that's right, it was too. This guy.
Time is up, and then please take your seat.
Yeah. Okay, well, maybe it was him. I'll ask. Yeah. Thank you very much for your participation. Please take your seats. We hope you enjoyed the activity. That's not fair. You had to sign it. Hello. Oh, you've got three corners. Oh, yeah. That's not good enough. Oh, I thought I have to take that. Yeah. Oh. Thank you. Okay. Let's continue. Hey, she's got bingo. What was it? We can ask you, I'll ask you what the interesting piece of information we need your colleague. I'm just a little bit...
Bingo.
Okay.
Got already 5.
She's got 5, I know, but I want to ask her about this. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, if I have your attention, let me just finish this activity for a moment. Please wait. Okay. Thank you. I need my helpers to...
Please.
Shush, 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 please. She's got bingo.
Yes.
People get very excited when they get a bingo row.
Yes, bingo.
Thank you, but you're still not the winner.
Yeah.
Okay, I would like to give some prizes to the winners. Now, I think our first winner with the first 5 squares was the gentleman from Myanmar. So, well done. Okay, thank you. And the person who got the 2 rows, the 10 squares,
In the corner.
was, I thought it was a gentleman. Was it? I'm not sure. I'll have to give 2 if I need to. So I'll give it to this woman over here, and it was you, sir. Okay, so would you give that to her? And also, lucky I bought some spare biscuits. Yes, just 1 moment. I'm trusting that you got the 10 squares, did you? Ah, of course, of course. He was very bossy. He was telling people, sign here, sign here. Okay, now we had one lady who filled out the free square in the middle. I'm always interested when somebody fills out the free square. What interesting piece of information did they discover about somebody here? Could you share it with us, please?
Oh, what I did was just I asked nicely one person here, what do you think about this?
And they gave a response?
And she got the response from this gentleman.
Okay.
Burma. From Burma?
From Myanmar. Okay.
Oh, Myanmar.
So you just worked out what the square was for, but that connected you. That's good. That's fine. Yeah.
That's what she did.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. May sit down.
So she's got a...
Yeah, she didn't win, but she did well. So many did. So many people want to keep going and to fill out their bingo card, which is good. In the BRIDGE program, you might spend more time with this activity. You might ask the participants to finish all 25 squares, because that you would see that would really give everyone an opportunity to meet many people in the room. And this is the purpose of the activity, to start to build these teams and relationships between everybody. So I hope you enjoyed that activity. I hope you can see how that might work in a training program. Is there anybody who wants to give any feedback or tell us about their experience doing that activity, whether they enjoyed it or found it challenging, or anybody want to give an observation? It's not essential, but if anyone wants to, you're welcome. It's fine. I do hope you enjoyed though, so thank you. That's our first demonstration of an interactive activity. Okay, so that concludes there. Now we have a time check. So we have a break. It's break time. 15 minutes? We have a break time for 15 minutes. If you don't finish your refreshments out there, please bring them into the room. But 15 minutes, we start back with the next activity. Thank you.
Please come back 11:10. So we have to start our session. For this session, we will play an activity. We call it value clarification, agree and disagree. Yeah. There will be several statements, preposition that needs your response. Whether you will decide on the side of agree or disagree. Yeah. Please, Ivan, next. So that is the learning objective of the activity. The ability to identify the interrelationship between the right to participation and other human rights. Yeah. The ability to describe, I'm sorry. The second, the ability to describe the Convention on Right of People with Disabilities promotes the right to political participation of all persons with disabilities without exception. And then the third, the ability to articulate the implication for political right listed in the CRPD. So I'm gonna ask 10 to 15 volunteer to come forward, join me. Yeah, maybe 2 person represented from this row, and then 2 person from here, 2 person from this row, 2 person from this row, and then 2 person from the other rows. Yeah, please, who want to be volunteer? We will play an activities. Yeah. For the first activity, I need 10 to 15 volunteer, please. Volunteer, please. Yeah. Every row has to have 2 representatives to be volunteer.
Yeah, 2 from here, 2 from here, 2 from here. 2 from here.
Yes, just
Yeah, anybody from each row who would like to be volunteers. Just 2. Jadi masing-masing baris ada 2 yang mau menjadi relawan.
Yeah. Okay, from this row, anyone? Mbak Sekar, please come up. Please join us. Mbak Sri, come. Come. Okay, Mas Yaki, please come here, close. Yeah. Okay, we will show you. Yeah, we will show you some statements, some value. Yeah. and then you have to think about it, whether you agree or disagree. If you decide to disagree, you have to come over there, yeah, disagree on my left. If you think that you agree with the statement, yeah, you go over there, yeah. You have to think about the reason why you stand for agree or disagree. Okay, understand? Please, next slide. This is the first statement. All people with disabilities should be excluded from voting. Disagree or agree? No, just go there. Just stand up. Okay, we want to hear your reason why you disagree that all people with disabilities should be excluded from voting. Who want to give a comment? Siapa yang ingin memberikan komentar kenapa Anda memilih disagree?
I disagree because I think we are people, even though we are disability, but we born as people. And if we are people and we are human, we have equal right to participate in every field in the world. So that's why I am disagree with this statement.
Very good. Who else want to give comments?
Hello. Okay, my name is Hairi from Malaysia. I of the opinion that all people are equal and they have their right, disabilities, they have their right written in the constitution. Therefore, we have to give their right.
Anyone? The same opinion? Oh, Mbak Sri, please.
Ya, saya Rani dari KPU Kota Yogyakarta. Menurut saya semua masyarakat, semua manusia punya hak yang sama. Jadi negara harus memfasilitasi dalam rangka pemilu dengan yang sudah memenuhi syarat tentu saja. Seperti di Indonesia sudah berumur 17 tahun atau sudah menikah. Jadi semua harus mendapatkan hak yang sama.
Okay. Oh, one more.
Sebagai manusia disabilitas, saya adalah warga Indonesia. Saya sudah dilindungi oleh undang-undang dan ada undang-undang 1945. Undang-undang memutuskan kami mempunyai hak dan juga Pancasila juga menjamin hal itu. Disabilitas harus ikut pemilihan umum karena itu adalah hak kami.
Okay, thank you. I think you all have the same reason that everyone without discrimination, whether they have disabilities or not, they have right to vote in the election. Even in our constitution, in our law, they provide their rights. Okay, thank you. Come back to the middle. Next slide, please. Okay, I will read. People with intellectual disabilities should be excluded from voting. Yeah. People with intellectual disabilities should be excluded from voting. Kalau mungkin dalam bahasa Indonesia, orang yang intellectual disabilitas itu bagi orang sakit jiwa. Silahkan, please stand up where you want to go. Disagree or agree? Please feel free to choose whether you agree or disagree because there is no wrong and right answer. Yeah, there is no wrong and right answer. Okay, we have 3 people agree with this statement, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 people who disagree with this statement. We want to hear the reason from the agree side first.
Yeah, because in voting, they have to choose the right person. That's why intellectual disability should be excluded, I think. Yes.
Okay. I think why we agree with, it's not only for the person with disabilities, but for the non-disabilities also. If they have this kind of situation, we agree because voting is something that needs knowledge and understanding about the process. So that's like the opinion for me.
I of the opinion that this kind of disabilities should be excluded from voting because they must the candidate that they want to choose, and therefore they have to think very clearly and very definitely for the sake of the future of the nation.
Thank you. Then we want to hear voice from disagree side. Please.
Thank you. I disagree because people with intellectual disabilities still have the right to be involved in the political process, and also having an intellectual disability may not necessarily mean that that person isn't able to understand their choices and how to vote well.
To top up to my friend, we disagree because if we include intellectual disability, it means you are the government or the state violate the right of person with disability. And we disagree because even though they are intellectual disability, but they got parent, and got parent or family could support them go to vote. So we suggest even in our country, we do a very strong advocate because the law state very clear that intellectual disability could not go to vote, and then we suggest the government to withdraw the sentence and reconsider what type of intellectual disability, because if we identify or classify the word intellectual disability, some people are confusing the word crazy. You know, let's say, oh, they are crazy, they cannot think anything, or they become even innocent people or something like that. So we found out the state or Asian government should reconsider and remove the barrier out of the intellectual disability so they could join fully participation in political rights. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. One more? Oh, Mbak Sekar. Okay.
Ibu Mita, gangguan jiwa itu adalah manusia, ciptaan Tuhan, dan harus hormati orang seperti mereka. Dan yang sebagaimana yang sudah dicantumkan dalam Pancasila sila kedua di negara kita, dan semua manusia mempunyai hak untuk ikut serta dalam pemilu.
Terima kasih. Cukup. Sekarang kembali lagi ke tengah. Oh, please back to in the middle. Last statement for the 10 volunteer. So this is the last statement for you, for 10 of you. People with intellectual disabilities, still with intellectual disabilities, should be excluded from standing for election as candidate. Yeah, yeah. So the previous excluded from the voting, and now from the candidate. Please choose. Agree or disagree? Of course you can. Of course you can. Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, in the middle. Of course you can. Okay. We have 2 disagree, we have 2 unsure, and then we have 6 agree. I want to hear the unsure.
The reason I choose the neutral for this statement, it depends on the framework of each country or the policy of each country. And if we base on the UNCRPD on Article 29, the state should be ensure the full participation of person with disability or type. But that's why I said I feel like what can we do, like, you know, like a neutral one and find the best way. Whether each state or each government, they are identify or classify disability classification clearly or not yet clearly? And what is the intellectual disability mean for each state? So make sure it's not confused, that's why we choose the middle.
Another opinion that seems like Mr. Sorlex, because we need to clarify our definitions of the intellectual disability. Because if you state that the intellectual disabilities, a person with intellectual disability should not be included or should not be in the political participation, that they won't be even to participate in the political issue in every step. So I'm staying here because of if you have a chance to vote or if they have the chance to be a candidate, they can stand it. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, from the agree.
Okay, for me personally, these kind of people with intellectual disabilities, we must take care of themselves. We have to love them, not to burden them and appoint them as a candidate.
Okay, thank you. Who else? Barani.
Okay. Kalau penyandang disabilitas, kalau untuk memilih itu harus diberi hak, tetapi kalau untuk dipilih atau menjadi kandidat itu menurut saya karena dia harus menjadi wakil masyarakat, membawa aspirasi masyarakat sehingga dia harus paham tentang apa yang dia wakili, dan itu menurut saya masih menjadi berat ketika dia menjadi wakil atau kandidat calon.
Okay, thank you. It's enough from the agree side. Okay, we can go to the disagree side.
Ketentuan untuk harus ikut memilih dan akses untuk dapat didampingi orang tua untuk calon, dan yang kedua adalah untuk intelektual ringan, ini ada beberapa kategori, bisa untuk mencalonkan diri, tetapi harus ada pendampingan. Jadi mereka punya hak untuk itu, tapi dengan beberapa ketentuan.
Okay, thank you. So we have various opinion about the people with intellectual disabilities. So please come back, and then thank you very much for your volunteering. Now I'm going to give you all the card of value clarification. We want to all of the all the participants have to participate on this activity. Yeah, we will give you 3 kind of cards, which is green for agree, and then red card for disagree, and then yellow card for answer or depends on. So when I show you, when I read the statement, the value, you can think, and then you raise your hand, yeah, with your card, whether you disagree or whether you agree, or even you are unsure. Please, quick, please. Depend on answer. Has everyone got the cards? Who doesn't get the card? Okay, we will begin, please, the statement. Okay, listen. Only people who have been to university should be eligible to be a candidate. Yeah. Only people who have been to university should be eligible to be a candidate. Please raise your hand. Okay, for the disagree first. Raise your hand with the red card. From the yellow card, please hold on. Okay. And then, okay. Enough? For the disagree depends on? Okay, one answer. And then 2, 3 answer. And then agree? No one agree. Okay. Okay, I want to hear from the minority, from the yellow card. Yeah? From the yellow card. What is your opinion? What is your opinion? Why you are unsure?
Oke, thank you. Saya dari Kementerian Hukum dan HAM. Kenapa saya milih depend or unsure? Karena menurut saya nggak semua memang sih, dalam artian ada undang-undang yang dan ada aturan yang membuat bahwa salah satu syaratnya harus lulus sarjana dari universitas tentunya. Tapi pada kenyataannya ada juga yang menjadi candidate in election ya pastinya kan, yang tidak ataupun tidak dari lulusan universitas juga bisa gitu pada kenyataannya. Tapi ya, itu yang membuat saya tidak yakin. Karena di undang-undang A tapi pada kenyataannya B, seperti itu. Thank you.
We have one person with disagree. So, can you please tell us what's your opinion?
Saya tidak setuju karena kalau dari segi memimpin itu, dari segi apapun tidak hanya orang yang di universitas yang hanya bisa memimpin ini. Iya, jadi dalam memimpin itu tergantung orangnya. Dia bisa membawa teman-temannya atau membawa orang yang lain untuk bisa mengikuti orang itu tersebut itu. Ya, yang berkualitas tentunya. Ya. Iya. Jadi ya, makasih.
Okay, from the agree, who wants to give your opinion? Please raise your hand. Anyone who want to give the comments? No one? No one. Okay. Here? Oh, siapa yang butuh? We need to help, please.
I do agree with the statement there because I felt that the education level or academic level of a person would actually bring country to a greater height of success. So without proper knowledge, without proper paper qualification, there is no way for us to give our opinion or the planning for development. So what is the use of us being in school and attending school if we could not possess a proper qualification? So to bring our country to a greater height, we need people who has got a very good and sound education background at the same time.
Thank you very much. Next slide, please. People under legal guardianship should be excluded from voting. Yeah. People under legal guardianship should be excluded from voting. Please, who stand for agree, raise your hand with your green card. Anyone agree with this statement? Okay, no one? Who disagree? Who disagree? Disagree? 1, 2. And then who are not sure? Who are not sure? Yeah. So, what about the rest? Okay, next slide, please. The last one. It's the last one? Yeah. The last one. Registration and voting should be compulsory. Yeah. Registration and voting should be compulsory. Please raise your hand. Who agree? Oh, wait. With the agree first. Agree first. So, who agree that registration and voting should be compulsory? Okay. I want to hear your opinion from
Malaysia. Well, I tend to agree with this statement because if we don't enforce this requirement, we have a lot of problems in Malaysia because there's voter apathy. People don't want to register, and some people who even register don't want to come out and vote. And in the end, the election commission gets blamed for this. If we make it compulsory, then they have no choice but to register and come to vote. Thank you. But however, enforcement may be another problem altogether.
So who disagree? Who disagree? I saw some of you disagree. 1, 2. You want to give your opinion?
Voting and the registration is a right, but it's we can claim it we can disregard or we can use it because voting is a democratic procedure, and you can decline or you can accept.
Last one for unsure. From the yellow card. Who have yellow card? Yeah. Who are unsure? No one? Okay. We have one for
untuk pendaftaran dan memilih di pemilu adalah hak dan kewajiban. Jadi hak kita sebagai warga negara memberikan suara, itulah hak kita. Kewajiban kita adalah berkontribusi pada proses-proses demokrasi di Indonesia. Jadi ini adalah hak dan kewajiban. Tidak hanya kewajiban saja, tapi juga harus didasari atas hak kita untuk menentukan pendapat kita.
Okay, thank you very much that you give your opinion about agree and disagree to some statement. Please on the next slide, Mas. Next slide. So what we next because our time is running so fast, we cannot continue our next. Yes, that is what we learn from our activities. Yeah. Individual in different social and political contexts place different emphasis on belief and values. Values differ from person to person and their views on disabilities. As we can see, Yeah, we have a different opinion, different value. Discrimination and disabilities, equality differ regardless of their sex or status as people with disabilities. Our value impact the way we view our work and behave at work. Next, please. The decision on policies implemented by EMB, by Electoral Management Body, can have impact on people with disabilities participation in election. In performing their duties, election managers consider how legal, political, and social culture affect people with disabilities. EMB must identify obstacles that prevent people with disabilities participation, as well as conducting voter education program for people with disabilities. Next, please. So that's all. I hope you enjoy our activities, and we continue our session with Yvonne. Please, Yvonne, your time.
Are you going to start with a short introduction of the cycle? Because we're going straight on to the next one. Okay.
You maybe introduce first. I will.
Okay, sure. I just need to get this slide up first from PowerPoint number 1. Yep, and it's this one. Okay. What is the time? Okay, it's 11:45, and we need to finish this bridge simulation in half an hour, so we can give you a form to fill out to give us some of your feedback on the activities and some suggestions for the module. So we have half an hour to do one final activity. Then we get your suggestions, then we have lunch at 12:30. So one final activity we will do now. This activity is a very long activity in the workshop module, but today we're only going to do a very short version of it, so you get to see what the activity is like. The activity is called Barriers Faced by People with Disabilities in Accessing Election Processes. The purpose of this activity is to identify categories of people with disabilities who could face difficulties accessing or participating in some or all of the stages of election processes. And also to identify at each stage of the election process the nature of the barriers that people with disabilities face in accessing election processes. And most importantly, the activity is followed by a brainstorm of suggestions of strategies to address these barriers. So it's a very practical activity where the participants are brainstorming possible barriers that people with disabilities will face, but then on the opposite side, brainstorming possible solutions. So it's really to get some of the innovative ideas that are out there shared amongst the participants who have experience of some of these very interesting strategies that exist. Okay, but to introduce this topic first, we just need to have a very quick overview of what we mean by the phases of the election processes or the stages of the election cycle. So I'll just hand over to Partono, who's going to do a very quick introduction before I ask you to do the activity.
Okay, thank you, Yvonne. So before we have a brainstorming on the barriers and solution for people with disabilities on the election processes, we want to, to introduce some slides on the electoral cycle. So this is the learning outcome. Want to identify parts of the electoral cycle framework used by election management bodies. Next, please. the benefits that we want to introduce you. The electoral cycle approach provides better opportunities to address systemic issues such as capacity development, institutional strengthening, the participation of women, minorities, indigenous people, people with disabilities, and other disadvantaged groups. Identify the use of appropriate cost-effective technology in electoral process. Looking through the lens of electoral cycle help us in identifying effective entry point for improving access. Next, please. So there are three of period in the electoral cycle. First, pre-electoral period, and post-election period. Next, please. This is the electoral cycle. We have a legal framework. Yeah. Next. Yeah. When we talk about the legal framework, we talk about constitution, our constitution, electoral system, how the electoral system is designed, and then legislation, electoral bodies, our EMB, who can be the commissioner on the EMB, whether they chosen by president, by parliament, coming from the political party, coming from independent, and etc. And then the electoral planning and implementation. We have security budgeting, resource planning, implementation, funding and financing, calendar or timeline. Next, please. And then we have training education. Yeah, training and education. Training for electoral officials, civic and voter education. Next, please. Voter education, voter registration, parties and candidate registration, observers registration. So that is the pre-electoral period. Please, next. Electoral campaign, we have the electoral period, electoral campaign, we have a media party liaison, we have a complaint, we have financing. Next, please. And then voting out of country voting, vote counting, voting, that's in the voting and operation in the election day. And then verification of result, tabulation of result, complaints appeal, official result. And then the last, we have a post-election. Usually we review our law in the election. Yeah, we have a evaluation on the election administration. Yeah, audit and evaluation, and reform the law. Yeah, if we need it. Next, please. So that is the cycle of election. We hope before you're gonna have brainstorming on the barriers and solution for people with disabilities in the election, you can have a picture on the electoral cycle. Ivan, I think enough.
Okay, the activity. We are going to ask you to do some brainstorming. I think you know what brainstorming is. This is storming, coming out quickly with as many ideas as you can think of. There are no right or wrong answers, just your ideas. Write them down and then we share them. So the way we are going to do this is we are going to give you a task that says in pairs or small groups, 2 or 3 people. We want you to brainstorm the barriers. Don't hand them out yet. Yeah. We want you to brainstorm the barriers and the corresponding solutions for different parts of the election process or activities faced by people with disabilities. And the main election phases or processes we are going to focus on in this activity are these 6. Voter registration, voter education, becoming a candidate, casting a vote, working for an election management body, and being an election observer. So we've chosen 6 very typical election phases, and we want you to brainstorm just 2 or 3 of the barriers that people with disabilities may face at this part of the election, this phase. And, if you can, think of some possible solutions also to address these barriers that you identify. But we're going to make it a little bit more challenging because we're going to ask you to do this from the perspective of one disability. So it might be you are blind, or you are deaf, or you have a mobility disability. But we are going to give you each of your pairs, one little card we have up the front, one small card that will list the perspective that we want you to brainstorm it from, the disability we want you to look at. Now, we're going to give you about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do this in your pair, and we're going to ask you to brainstorm onto the little slips of paper. There is some space to write your ideas, the barriers and the solutions, on 2 slips of paper. It already has the heading on it. When you have exhausted all of your ideas and written them down, we invite you in your own time to come and stick those slips of paper on one of those flip charts over here on the side of the room. You see 6 flip chart pages over there? Each flip chart has at the top of the heading those election phases. So in the far right, I think, is the voter registration and then voter education. You can't read them from here, but when you go up close, you can see they have these headings on them. So, if you have a task card that says, brainstorm the barriers faced by during casting a vote, if you have a hearing disability. This is one task card. If you are given this card, you have to brainstorm those barriers that you think might exist for people who are deaf or with a hearing disability. And then you have to brainstorm some possible solutions. Then, once you have finished writing down your ideas, you will take this card and you will find the flip chart that says casting a vote, and you will stick the barriers on the left and the solutions on the right. And we have already put, see the black sticky gum over there, the blue tack, the tacky stuff. So you can stick these straight onto the flip charts. We will have a lot of pieces of paper stuck on the flip charts, so please keep these in a nice, neat row. We're going to give you about 10 minutes to do this. The first thing we want you to do is identify at your table your small groups, 2 or 3 people. So most tables will have 2 groups. Someone will need to volunteer to write down the ideas. Someone will need to volunteer, or a couple of you can go up and stick them up together. We will have helpers up there directing you to stick them up. But the important thing is that you have a 10-minute conversation to think of as many barriers and solutions to the category you have been allocated. I hope that task is clear. Now we're going to ask our helpers to hand out the random cards to the pairs or small groups. When you all have your cards, I will direct you to start. You will be given 2 cards. They're stapled together. Barriers on one card, solutions on the other card. Does every small group or pair have a card now? Anybody missing a card? Very good. If you have your pairs now or your small groups and you have your cards, you may start your brainstorm. About 10 minutes for this brainstorm. Is this a team of three? Yes, great.
And the Myanmar table is so interesting because the two men are actually civil society and the two women are government.
Which is the Myanmar table?
Oh,
the
Nayland,
other,
the guy who won.
Yeah, yeah, and the woman's the commissioner. I met her before. Yeah. We have three here, do we? Three groups, yeah. There is about 5 more minutes. So I suggest if you haven't started your brainstorm on your strategies, to move to that now. Hello? Okay. Thank you very much. I think most of you now have stuck your brainstorms on the flip chart, I hope. Maybe a couple more? Yes? Okay. I would like to complete this activity, so I need your attention so we can finish this bridge session. If you haven't stuck your cards on the flip chart, there will be an opportunity in a few moments to do that. but I would like to wrap up now. I'll get you to read some, yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you again for your participation. I have been reading some of your ideas, and there's some really good ideas already on the flip charts. And I can hear you already talking about other ideas. I want to point out that this activity is really just the beginning of an activity. The real work happens next. This is an initial brainstorming of barriers and solutions. The next step in the module is to do some analysis, some work around these barriers and solutions. I'm going to ask Potono, where is he? Over here, to read one example from each flip chart to finish. So I could ask you, Potono, to start up this end. Read one barrier, one solution perhaps.
Okay, I will read what you have here in the flip chart. Working for an electoral management body. The barriers, we cannot force them because they cannot understand how to choose because the voting according to the personal concise. And then the strategy need the accompaniment from their family to vote. One from being observer, yeah. This is the barriers, communication problem, not sensitized on the nature and chart of person with disabilities and their specific disability. Possible strategy, sensitivity training, learn all possible means of communicating with the deaf or hard of hearing. And then we have casting a vote. We have barrier and strategies here. Cannot vote as secret. And then cannot come to vote alone. Need assistance. For the possible strategies, need tactile ballot or ballot template for easy blind or people with visual impairment to vote by themselves. Need partner or family come along with to vote for blind or people with visual impairment. And then here, being a candidate, we have some barriers, challenges on mobility in campaign, stigmatization from the public, political barriers. And then possible strategies, prepare campaign strategies that can accommodate the needs of candidate, public campaign on the working capabilities of the candidate, voter education, barriers, problem for the blind, less raising awareness. Solution for the blind people, more awareness raising on television, radio, seminars for personal assistant if only assist to vote, and provide accessible materials. The last flip chart on the voter registration, barriers, limited in time to centralize only personal. For limited in time, constant process from this strategy, constant process at any time, should be decentralized, and then different means for registration, online, by email, and representative. So that's some of their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Partono. Thank you for giving us a sample of what the ideas were. There are many. We invite you at lunch to come and have a walk around and read some of the suggestions. We also take photos of the flip charts, and this is something we give back to participants so they can see the results of their work. But as I say, in a workshop, normally this is just the beginning of an activity to lead into the analytical work about these barriers and solutions. So thank you again for your participation in that bridge activity. We hope it gave you a flavour of what a bridge workshop will be like on this module. This brings us to the end of the simulated module session. I'm going to ask Partono now to give you a sheet that we invite you to fill out to give us some feedback and your ideas on what we can include in this module. We will collect this in 10 minutes, and then it will be lunchtime. And Partono, correct me if I'm wrong, lunch is 1 hour, and then back in this room. Yes. Okay, so again, I just want to thank you all for your participation on behalf of Partono and myself. We hope you enjoyed some of this bridge material. We look forward to your feedback, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the day. So thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we have another round of applause for Yvonne and Partono for the very interesting session. And we would also like to present mementos to our distinguished speakers, trainers, which will be presented by Ms. Justitia Arif. On stage, please. The first one goes to Ms. Yvonne Gaudi. And also to Mr. Partono Samino. And now a group photo with all together. Thank you so much, Ivan and Partono, and also Mbak Yusti.